Welcome everyone to our very first Q&A session for this Get Unstuck program. I'm so excited to be here with you all. All right, so how's this gonna work? We might as well make this cozy for those of us that are here. We'll do this like I do in my fast track program, which is my core program I've been running for the last 4 years now. So for people that are on the Q&A sessions, we'll just actually make this a cozy, intimate group. We'll start out with some introductions. If you want to say your name, your first name, where you are on this planet, and I don't know, what should we do? I don't know. For this first one, let's just share like what it is that brought you to this Get Unstuck program. And after introductions, then I'm going to go into. So first, I'm going to do the questions that were sent in, just to cover those. Then I'll do questions and answers for everyone that's on here, and we'll stay on as long as people have questions. So just like in my fast track program, again, that's my core program that I've been running. It's a much more comprehensive program. I'm going to be typing out the questions that people are asking, both the ones that are already submitted and the ones that you all are asking. Those will be uploaded to your members section. So the Get Unstuck program materials are on our members only site. So each week, this that we're doing right now is going to be recorded. That video will be uploaded to your site, as well as a list of all of the questions that you all ask as well. So for those of you that aren't on here live, you'll be able to read through the questions and see approximately where in the call those are answered. And those of you that are on here and want to go back and listen as well, you're welcome to do that too. As a reminder, the deadline for sending in questions, if you can't make it on here live, is Mondays at noon Pacific time. And how you get here, right when you log into the member site, you go into the Get Unstuck program. The very first document that's in there is a list of all the details. If you scroll down just a little bit, it's got the times of these calls, it's got the link to join, and it's got the email address to send the questions in, and also the deadline for that as well too. So all right, so let's start out with intros. Everyone, welcome, welcome. Who wants to get started first?
Hello.
Karen.
I'm Karen. I'm in Muscatine, Iowa, by Davenport. I did the Unstuck program because I've kind of been stuck. So I'm looking for a reboot at this point. So
Excellent. Welcome, Karen.
I'll go next.
Hey, Carole. Carole, there's people trying to get in that are posting to the Facebook group. Is it okay if I give this link to them? I don't want to do it without your permission.
Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody trained so that they know to go to the member site. So they must be on the wrong link because there's nobody I've got here that's doing that. So if we direct them there,
yep.
Because what
I did. They say they don't see it. They only see the welcome video. They don't see the text files, what they're telling me.
The welcome video or the text file is the item before the the video.
I'll try that. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to try to get folks on quickly.
Yeah, it's just Ann there. So she's got to click on the left-hand side. So I don't know if she's on her phone. She might have to go back. But often if people have already viewed the document, it's already gone on to the video. But the left-hand side of the website is the navigation. And it's going to be the very first item that's on there is that the document lists all the details. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to guide them. Sorry. Carry on.
Okay. Who's next for intro? Marianne, you're muted too.
I'll go next.
Okay, Robin.
My name is Robin, and I'm in Washougal, Washington, which is the southern part of Washington. And I've been maintaining my weight for since spring of last year, and I'm just kind of ready to take my weight to the next level. So that's why I want to just break through the maintenance weight.
Robin's had big success over the last year, so
yeah.
Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I realize like all three of you look very similar. Short, reddish hair, wearing a dark top. You want to go up next, Marianne?
Sure. I'm Marianne. I'm in Spokane, Washington, where it's sort of sunny, just refreshing. I have been hanging out about the same place for the last 3 or 4 months and would like to take it a bump down and keep on the journey.
Excellent. You ready, Heather?
Sure. Still trying to help these folks. They're saying they don't see anything. So I don't know. I'm going to send them a screenshot. Sorry, this is, I do training for a living, so I can't help it. I stepped into that role too quickly. Hi, I'm Heather. I live outside Washington, D.C. I started working with Carole in March of last year, and I was struggling a bit to get back into the keto way of life. And once I did, I wasn't losing weight. So I'm just here to shake things up and learn a few things.
Excellent. Yeah, a screenshot, that would be helpful. Thank you so much, Heather, for your tech support. Yeah, and people may have forgot the email came out right when they first enrolled that had all the links in it and everything. And I know it's something that sometimes people, and I tried to make it simpler with this one because we didn't make registration, but however, we may make it so that people can register for these and then they get the email with the reminder of it automatically as well. So I was trying to let people be more in charge of their own schedule with this and not send all that out, but we could change it. But then that ends up making one more step where they have to actually register for every one of these calls. So they have to remember that as well. We'll keep plugging along here. So, okay, so I'm going to start with the questions that people sent in. So one from Anne, she's got a bunch of information here about what she's been doing up to this point, which really isn't relevant to this program because she's just saying that, she's been doing this other approach and hasn't lost any weight. So that's not really a question about this program. And the question though is, I hate to cook. Is there a way to do this program without cooking? What say all of you? Could you do the Get Unstuck program without cooking anything?
Probably take a lot more thought to do it without cooking. I mean, the cooking's pretty basic.
Yeah. The true answer is absolutely. You can easily do this without cooking anything. If you buy pre-sliced, turkey, chicken, luncheon meats, you could buy pre-hard boiled eggs. You could use the egg white part for the high protein, low fat days. You could use the yolk, save the yolk for the regular keto days. You could do canned sardines, canned chicken. We were talking about this morning on the coach's call. They've got all these different little flavored tuna pouches available on the shelves now. You can do bag salad as your greens and buy some dressing for your regular keto days, and you can do lemon juice and salt on your low fat days. So absolutely, totally can be no cook. And this was your question. And so basically in the FLA, which stands for Fat Loss Accelerator, the FLA foods list, the allowed foods list, any item that's on there, just think about the version that you can either buy that's pre-cooked or no cook. Okay, so chicken is on that list. You've got canned chicken. You can get rotisserie chicken from the grocery store that's pre-cooked for you. You can get sliced chicken luncheon meats. So those are just 3 examples of things you don't have to cook that you can do this with. So yes, you absolutely can do it without cooking at all. So the next question I have is from Belinda. Belinda wants to know, how do you determine macros for keto based on body weight of 200 pounds? Okay, so she wants to know for both the regular keto and for the fat loss accelerator technique. So this was actually in the fat loss accelerator training video. So for more information, all the details, please refer back to that video. It's the very, there's a whole module in your member section that's the fat loss accelerator training technique. the video in there. I go through the whole thing. So basically, for your fat loss accelerator days, those are the high protein, low fat days. You're going to take your body weight. That's how many grams of protein you need to aim for in the day. So for 200-pound body weight, you're going to aim for 200 grams of protein a day. How much fat? You take that number and divide it by 3. Okay, so I got my calculator out, 200 divided by 3, 66.7, you can round it up to 67 grams of fat per day is gonna be your fat loss accelerator days, okay? So 200 grams of protein, a third of that is fat, so that's 67 grams of fat as your maximum for the day. Everyone gets, no matter what your body weight, on your fat loss accelerator days, you get up to 40 grams of carbs. So that's how you figure out your macros on your fat loss accelerator days. It's exactly the same for every person. Take your weight. That is how many grams of protein. You divide that by 3. That's how many grams of fat you get as a maximum. And then for your fat loss accelerator days, you get 40 grams of carbs. Done. On your regular keto days, you're going to have up to 20 total grams of carbs. Everyone gets the same there. Your protein, a very simple, easy way to do it for women, is going to be between 60 and 90 grams of protein. So I want you getting at least 60 grams of protein a day. There's no limit on protein on your regular keto days. And and as far as fat, there's no grams of fat. The regular way that I teach keto isn't about how many grams of fat you can have. It's going to be adding a tablespoon of fat to each meal as needed to feel full and satisfied. So you can have more than that, but basically you want to add just enough fat to keep you full and satisfied. So for most people, that's 1 or 2 tablespoons added per meal, eating 2 or 3 meals per day. Unlike most myths out there, fat is not unlimited. That's not true. You can eat too much fat and you can gain weight, and that may be a problem for a lot of you. Why you're stalled in your fat loss journey is that you're overeating fat. There's a lot of misinformation out there in the keto world that somehow if you're in ketosis, magically that means you're losing weight. It's not the same thing. So I forgot I need to be writing these questions. Okay, so we talked about how to submit questions, how to find log on info and submit questions. Number 2 was, can we do this program without cooking? And the last one was, do I figure out my macros? All right, and the other thing I'm gonna let you know right now too is that in the Facebook group, once a question has been answered correctly, I'm gonna turn off commenting on it, okay? So this is to save confusion. So whether I answer it or somebody else gets the right answer, I'm gonna turn off commenting. So that way everybody doesn't chime in and confuse everyone. So once somebody posts a question, it's answered, commenting turns off. That way people can read through and go, oh, here's the answer. We don't need to try to chime in anymore. So that's gonna save confusion. And also, so don't be offended if you see your question up there and you see comments are turned off. It just means it's been answered. And so we can move on, and that way people in a very simple way can find the answer that they need. So don't and also if there are things that are incorrect or suggestions that aren't relevant to the program. Okay, so for example, recently somebody said, well, what about collagen? Can we have collagen? Not on the program, not in the foods list. And so I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna answer it, and I'm gonna remove the post because I'm trying to create in the Facebook group clarity, correct answers, not confusion. So if people are reading through things that aren't relevant to the program or incorrect information, I'm going to remove those, again, just for clarity and simplicity, so that people can go there and not get more confused. Because that's one of the problems with the keto world, is there's all these Facebook groups with thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people in these groups, and you see hundreds of comments and different information, and it's really confusing and frustrating. So We want to make the Facebook group about support, community, sharing of ideas, but also correct information and answers correctly. So that's a little bit of clarity about how, how things are going to go in the Facebook group. And okay, I'm typing up questions. Let's see, another question I've got that was sent in from Carole. So it's interesting. We actually have a Carole that's spelled exactly the same as me. That's not me. So you might hear me seeing Carole, and you see Carole post in the group, and it's not me. There's another Carole with an E. Carole had a question too. Lunch on one of the days states 312 grams of shrimp. Is that correct? That's over 11 ounces. Please advise. Yes, it's correct. So this is high protein is a lot of volume of food. So here I'm going to teach you actually how to check. I want you all to not just blindly be following this. I want you to actually be going in and investigating yourself. So the way that you're going to check is you're going to use Cronometer. Every one of you in this program has, as a bonus in this program, the gold membership and Cronometer right underneath my account. So this is something I pay for you all as a bonus for this account. So all of you should have already received your login if you're not already in there. And I'm going to go over there right now and just do a screen share to show you how do you check. How do you check? If you see something in the menu and you're like, that can't be right, here's how you can check. Also, this is how you're going to go in if you're wanting to come up with a food, or if you're seeing an item in the menu that you don't like. Okay, so I see a question in there lately. I don't like cottage cheese and Greek yogurt. I need a substitute. So we're going to talk about that as well. How do I figure out what else to eat instead? And Kathy, you're automatically muted and your video's turned off. Same thing for Ann. So you guys are free to turn that on if you like. But you can also stay off video if you want to.
You say we're muted?
And you're not muted right now, but Kathy is muted. Just as when you join this call, just the default is that you're muted and your video is off. But we can't hear you, Ann.
Oh, okay.
Just for privacy, because sometimes people join and they're at work and they can't talk or they don't want to hear, all right, so Cronometer, I'm going to go over, let's see, let's do the Cronometer. Again, I told everyone before, I'm typing out the questions so you guys will have these as reference, so bear with me while I type those in. All right. So this is going to be what it looks like on the computer-based version. So computer, laptop, it's going to look different if you're using it from your phone or the app. I don't have a way to screen share the app version on here. Well, unless I hold it up on the phone, but okay. So let's say this is how you're going to check a portion size. Okay. So this works for, oh my gosh, is this thing right in the meal menu plan? But also let's say you see cottage cheese on the meal plan and you're like, I don't like that. Or you just want to come up with your own meal plan. So anything that's in the allowed food list, you're free to use as items to make up your own meal planning. So the first thing you're gonna do is click on this add food. Let's just put in shrimp. Cooked from frozen. And I think the amount was like 235 grams. Or no, it was 300 and, what was it? 312. Okay, so type in 312 grams down here. So see in the bottom, this is kind of where you're doing, remember back in middle school, I don't know, was it science or math, where you did guess, check, and refine? This is what you're gonna do to figure out what your portion size is. So if you're doing 3 meals a day on your fat loss accelerator days, your high protein days, you need 1/3 of your protein per meal. You're not going to be able to do 20 or 30 grams of protein a meal and then try to eat 200 grams at dinner. You need to divide it evenly among your meals. So if you're going to go for 3 meals a day, let's use the example, Belinda wanted to do macros for 200 pounds. So she needs 200 grams of protein a day. So if we divide 200 by 3, so she's eating 3 meals a day, she needs to aim for at least 67 grams of protein per meal. I posted in the group just this morning, my first meal of the day was 75 grams of protein. So I hit that with that. It wasn't even that big of a volume of food. It's probably about a cup and a half total of food. And plus a couple of cups of coffee got me to 75 grams of protein. So you've got to prioritize. This is different than your regular keto approach. Okay, so we want to aim for at least, so for somebody who weighs 200 pounds to start with, they need to get at least 67 grams of protein per meal. So if you're going to do shrimp, the 312 that's in the meal plan, the 312 grams is going to give you 71 grams of protein. Do you see where that is down here? That's going to be almost 5 grams of carbs and only 5 grams of fat. So it's nice and low in fat, lots of high protein. So yes, the 312 grams that's in the menu is correct. So everyone at this point should have some kind of a kitchen scale, a digital scale to weigh your foods. I made all of the meal plans in gram measurements of the foods. If your scale only weighs in ounces, usually they have a conversion. Like if you turn the scale over, there's a little tiny tab or a button on the bottom that will convert it between grams and ounces. So I'm pretty sure almost every kitchen scale that's available online is going to have the ability to weigh in grams. But if you want to find out how many ounces that is, there's 28 grams in an ounce. So we take 312 divided by 28, and yes, it's over 11 ounces. So like 2/3, what is that? 2/3 of a pound, or 16. It's not quite 3/4 of a pound of shrimp. So yeah, this is a much larger portion of protein than you're used to eating. Way higher. So what's another, let's do another one like canned chicken. Let's just say like, well, I've got some canned chicken. How do I know what my portion size is? Okay, so here's canned chicken. Let's go. I recommend weighing in grams if you can. So this means you're going to put everything in something on your scale. So 200 grams of canned chicken is going to get you only 37 grams of protein. That's not going to be enough for most people. So again, if you're aiming for, and you know, we maybe even have somebody, let's say you're 160 pounds to start out with, divided by 3, that's going to be 53 grams of protein a meal. So we just need to keep playing with this number to find out what's going to get us to that amount. So, okay, that 250 is not enough, 280, there we go. So 280 grams of canned chicken would be one meal's worth of protein. So let's see, what's another example of a food you want to try? Now you can see the foods that I've got for your fat loss accelerator days. The reason they're there is because they're already really low in fat. So unlike regular keto, you need to try to find the versions of foods that are the lowest in fat, because we've got to keep our fat really, really low. And whereas regular keto, we get to have the delicious high fat versions of all these, right? So instead of canned chicken, which is usually the chicken breast, you can go for the chicken thighs or the chicken drumsticks or chicken wings, and so on. So does this make sense about how to use Cronometer to find your servings of protein, and how to check if something in the meal plan is a correct portion size? Any other items that you want to see on here?
No, but go ahead. Show me how you now plug that into, like, you know, I don't know, lunch or whatever meal. Like, how do you now plug that food into your day?
You just click add. So right here we pick 280 grams is going to be our portion size for that canned chicken. Click add.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah, it's in there. And if you say, oh, oops, I meant to have that for breakfast, you can actually just drag it right up there wherever you want it. Okay. So this is a way that you can, so I've clicked on Friday myself just because it's a blank day on my calendar, but you can, on the left-hand side here, you can pick whatever day. You could do meal planning for the week, right? So let's say I want to plan out my entire Friday right here. I can go ahead and plug in the items, figure out what the portion sizes are, and pre-plan everything that I'm going to eat on Friday or Tuesday or whatever day of the week it is. So sometimes people like to plan their whole week out. If they've got a especially if they're working away from the home and they need to take their meals with them.
Okay.
I'm somebody who I'll play with my portion size right before I eat, because I get to work from home, and so I know I've got my fridge. And so this morning it was like, well, all right, I've got this low-fat cottage cheese. I've got some sardines in the cupboard. What's this look like? What portion size is this going to be? That's going to get me my protein amount. So that's what I did. I did so you can do a combination of proteins as well, right? So I did the low-fat cottage cheese, and I did the sardines, and I did the protein powder in my coffee. So I did a combination of all three of those to get to ended up being about 75 grams of protein for my breakfast. So. Now the same thing if you want to play with your veggie servings as well. So on your high protein days, you get up to 40 grams of carbohydrates, so you get bigger portions of veggies. So let's say we're going to do some zucchini. Raw is how we're going to measure it. So often people have a question about like, which one of these do I pick? Do I pick raw or do I pick cooked? Pick the one on here, how you're going to measure it. It's usually best to measure it raw and then cook it, because it's going to be much more accurate, because the weight of it is going to vary depending on how much you cook it, right? So if you just cook it very lightly, it's still going to have a lot of water in it. It's going to weigh more. If you cook it to death, most of the water's out. So it's usually best to measure things raw before you cook them. But also if you're buying something already cooked, it is an option to pick, the cooked versions in here too. So, let's say our zucchini, just to be on the safe side. So there's a little bit of carbs, like, so you saw in the shrimp that I had picked, or the canned chicken, there's a little bit of carbs in there. And so even though you can have up to 40 grams of carbs total per day on your high protein days, I would say like sticking below, like 10 grams of carbs for your veggies on those days is going to keep you safely within that limit. So if we're having zucchini, let's say that's the only vegetable we're going to have at this meal, we get to play around and see like what's going to get us to 10 grams of carbs total. It's going to be a nice big pile of zucchini. Let's see. There, so maybe 325 grams. There we go. 325 grams of zucchini. That's going to be a pretty big portion of, a moderate sized portion of zucchini. That's going to get you 10 grams of carbs for that meal. So let's add that as well. Now, if we want to see how much fat, so you can have a total of, let's just stick with the 60 grams of fat total for the day. Now, let's say any item you click on, this information down here shows you the breakdown. So just this zucchini is 13 grams of carbs, 6 grams of fat, and 56 grams of protein. Oh, see, that's the total day. Never mind. There we go. Now it changed. Okay. It was actually showing the whole thing. So if you click on the heading for this meal, it's going to show you everything, which is what it was doing. You click on one item and it just goes back to just that item, what's in it. So let's look at our total so far. So we're having 280 grams of canned chicken, 325 grams of raw zucchini. Let's see if we have any room to add any fat to this meal. We sure do. So if you're going to do 60 grams of fat per day, just as a one number. So if you weigh more than that, you can have even more fat than that. But that gives you 20 grams of fat per meal. You're having 3 meals. We're only at 6. So we could have, we could add a tablespoon of mayo or butter or any kind of fat that we want. You could do like ranch dressing as well. What sounds good to go with? You could cook your zucchini in a whole bunch of butter and pour it on top of that. You could have a little bit of mayo. You could put some mayo to mix in with your canned chicken. What do you guys think sounds good right now?
The butter.
Okay. Okay, so now we got to go. So I already know, because I've done this work so much and I'm a nutritionist, that a tablespoon of any pure fat, so that's butter, mayo, lard, ghee, olive oil, avocado oil, all of those have about 14 grams of fat in them. So for butter, let's pick the salted butter. Butter's a little bit lower. It's got, it's 11 grams because there's a tiny bit of protein actually in butter. Not very much, but tiny bit. And a little bit of water, right? So a tablespoon of butter weighs 14 grams, but it only has 11.5 grams of fat only, and a little tiny bit of protein. The rest of it is just going to be water. So there's, 2.5 grams or whatever, almost 3 grams of water in butter. And so we could, we can have a little bit more. So we've only got, let's see, if we can have up to 20 grams of fat in a meal, and we're at 6.5 already. So we can have 13. I mean, so you can do 1.25. That's going to be a little bit too much. So I would just stick with 1 tablespoon of butter added, which in this meal is going to be quite a bit of, it's going to be a nice, tasty bit of butter. And especially, and instead of canned chicken, if you did like a chicken breast and just did, cooked it in butter and put the butter over the top of it, that's another option as well. But this is how we figure out the portion sizes on a fat loss accelerator day. So the high protein, low fat day. So interesting, a low fat day, you still get a whole tablespoon of butter in a meal. So, and that's because we pick proteins that are very low in fat too. So basically for each of the other meals, you do the same thing, whatever you have on hand, whatever sounds good. The difference on your regular keto days, you're not going to go for that much protein. You're going to have a lower, about half that size of carbs because you have half the carb allowance, and you could choose a fattier cut, right? So you could have a ribeye steak. You could have fatty pork shoulder, or what's another high fat cut of meat? Bacon, sausage, things like that. And then you could also still add some more fat to those meals. So what other questions here in Cronometer while we're here? So something else I want to point out is very, very important. Ignore these percentages. People always get tripped up about these percentages because what's going to happen is that pretty soon you're going to go like we haven't set your proteins in there for each of you. It's going to say it's over protein. Remember, you can't go over on protein. So ignore the percentages down here. It's just the way this program is set up. Don't let them focus on the grams, not the percentages. What other questions in Cronometer? I also encourage you all to add in your biometrics. So basically biometrics mean body measurements. So this is going to be anything from your what you weigh, your body weight on the scale, your waist measurement. You can add in, hips and other measurements too. You can put your height in here, your blood pressure. Also there's way you can put your ketone measurements in here. Doesn't really matter for this approach. You're going to be in ketosis. The number of ketones you've got in your blood doesn't matter for this program. You can add exercise in here as well. You can add notes. So this is where you just add a note in here. You might add like how you're feeling for the day, or, like I was really hungry after lunch, or wow, I felt really good today, or something like that. That's just for yourself, or any notes. Also, going forward on these Q&A sessions, if any of you want me to look at your food log, that's something I can do as well. So if you want to add some notes in here about questions. So for example, if any of you have, you're not able to be on the call and you have some questions for me, you can put notes right in your food diary, but you can also just email those questions in and I'll answer those too. So, so if you have questions like during your day and you like want to remember like, oh gosh, I want to ask Carole about that, or someone else, you can add a note right into your diary here too. But it also can just be notes for yourself.
Carole, I had a question about Cronometer.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered, I don't remember if it's a Q&A or something, but you wanted us to track our salt like in Cronometer while we did this. Did I get that right? And if so,
yeah.
how should we do that?
Yes. Excellent. Thank you, Heather. And let me write that on my question here. That is... yes. So anything that goes in your mouth, I want you to put in Cronometer. So not only your salt, but go ahead and put your water in here. Any beverages at all, tea, coffee, Also, any herbs or spices you're using. Herbs and spices will creep up on you as far as how many carbs they have in them. Any supplements that you take, put those in here as well. Part of it is for you to learn what has carbs and things in it, but also it's valuable information for me because sometimes people are doing things where I'm like, aha, this is why things aren't working for you. So everything that goes in your mouth, put in Cronometer. Thank you for asking for that. So add food. So this is where you're going to add supplements, beverages. So basically, instead of food, it should say, add anything I put in my mouth. Is that what that tab is for? So salt, just type it in up here. There's plain salt, there's sea salt. Those are probably the most common ones. So whatever one you want to pick and go for the, so I have you doing, everyone, so there's a couple of measurements in here. You can do full teaspoon and say how much of a teaspoon it is. You can do quarter teaspoons. So every one of you should, starting today or whenever you started this approach or keto in general, you should be adding a minimum of 1 teaspoon per day added. You may need more than that. Typically your body will only tolerate up to half a teaspoon at one time. So you can use this quarter teaspoon and just say you've done 2 quarters. If you're not good at fraction math, let us know, but 2 quarters is 1/2. Or you can just do the whole teaspoon and say 0.5, which is a half a teaspoon, and go ahead and add that in here. Notice no protein, no carbs, but what it's going to do is it keeps track of your sodium intake down here for us. And I want to see this will help me know, again, troubleshooting later on. If things don't work or having symptoms and things like that, I can see if you've been doing your salt every day or not. So, and then you might do like, another dose at dinner before bed too. What other questions?
So one more about Cronometer, and sorry if you covered this, I had to step out for a work thing real quick, but can we bundle things? Like I take like 8 supplements a day, Carole. I don't want to have to enter those every single day. So
what you can do is click on the next day. Oh, there's a way to actually copy. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's see if this will work. Copy. Okay, so let's do the shift click, right click, copy selected items. Okay, so let me start over. So click on one. Let's say these are all supplements that Heather's wanting to, so put them in the first day, hold down the shift button and click each one that you want. Then if you right click, copy selected items, click on the next day, right click, oh, that didn't work. Let's see.
How about do paste?
Carole, I went to Foods and did a custom kind of like a recipe and just put in my all my supplements. And so now I can just add it like I would in normal food. And it's
it looks like it's only going to allow me to. Oh, was the paste showing up on this one? Oh, there it is. It's right there, Heather. Paste, okay. So it had a little video symbol, so it like tricked my brain to not see it. So that makes sense. So just put the supplements in day 1, and then all you have to do is highlight all of them, right click copy, and then just paste them on the next day.
It works in your phone also. You can do it in your phone.
Okay.
Thank you. And you can find like vitamin C, I mean, you can find that in Cronometer.
And if you're somebody who likes food monotony and you like to eat the same thing every day, this is really easy for you basically, because you can just copy, let's say I just wanted to, exactly what I just did there. Let's say I'm going to have the exact same thing tomorrow. Click on the one of them, hold down the shift button, and on a Mac, I apologize. I don't know how to do this on a Mac, but click all the items that you want to copy. And then if you right click, copy item, click on the date that you want to add it to, and then click on the paste on that date. Also, if you mess up and you're like, oh man, I forgot, this is for dinner, you can just drag them down there.
Heather, if you do it on your phone, when you hit the add food, there's a little, the little stripey thing that you can take a picture of the thing on the bottle of your meds or your vitamins or whatever, and it'll automatically add it in.
It'll scan the barcode, right?
Yeah.
I'll try that. Yeah, thank you.
That works pretty slick too. Like if you buy a, canned tuna or whatever, you can just take a picture of it and it has exactly what's that particular brand has.
Cool.
All right. Other Cronometer questions? The other thing you can do if you're like, oh man, I don't want to eat that, just right click it and delete it. But you can also, we could pick several of them too. Just hide them all, right click, delete selected. You sure? Yeah. More questions?
Do I assume that medication is the same as the supplements?
No, you don't need to put medications in here.
Okay.
I know I said everything you put in your mouth, but how about except supplements? Yes. Medications, no.
Okay.
Because you won't be able to find those in the database in here. And unless you want to just add them as a note, you could put them in a note on here, that you took which medications you took.
Okay.
What else?
Are you ready for non-Cronometer questions?
Well, I was going to make sure we got all the Cronometer questions first. So if there's no more of those, I got to make sure I got 2 more questions that have already been submitted, but I want to get, let's go with the people that are here so that we don't make you stay here forever. And then I've got another question from Deirdre and one from Marianne, but Marianne is here too. So, so Heather, what other questions?
Why can't we count collagen protein? I have such a big container of collagen protein powder that's been sitting in my pantry for a year that I would really love to use up.
Yeah, good question. And so this is kind of I'll answer this as a 2-part question, right? Because one is, why can't I use collagen? But the bigger question is, why can't I have things that aren't on the allowed lists of foods? So the collagen is, I'm going to give you a much more detailed question specifically about collagen. And then I'll also say, why is it that we can't have X, Y, and Z that aren't on the list? So collagen, so protein is an umbrella term. Basically, when we eat something we call protein, our digestive system breaks it down into amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins in our body. So basically, we break them down, and there are 22 different amino acids identified. 9 of them are essential for human life, meaning we can't make them ourselves. We can't make them from anyone else, anyone else. We have to eat things to get those. And then basically we break them, I think of them as Lego blocks. We break them down into a Lego blocks, and then our body takes them and reassembles in all kinds of things. So they make, they make our muscles, they make connective tissue, they make hair, skin, they make enzymes in our body, basically, things that break other things down, a whole bunch of different things we make for them. And we need them in certain ratios as humans. So each animal has different ratios of these amino acids that they need. So foods that are considered complete proteins means that when we eat that protein, it contains all of the essential amino acids that humans need for life in the right ratios that we need them to make things in our body. So when something is considered an incomplete protein, there are things that are short. So let's say, we need these 9, and this exactly the length of my fingers is how much we need of each one of those. Let's say that we're eating collagen. It doesn't have it has a little bit, but not only this much of them. So basically it's something that we're creating a shortage. So where do we get this other stuff that we're missing? Basically it shorts us. There's no specific food that just gives us this. And so okay, so we can borrow some from the chicken we had, but then the chicken is short this as well. So basically it ends up just not really counting towards total protein grams because it's incomplete. It creates a shortage. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you need to build a house, you need, 10 2x4s and 14 nails, but you got a shipment and it only had 10 2x4s and 14 nails. Well, you can build this much, but you're still short. You need another shipment, and they only come in that type of shipment range. So you still end up short. So it can't count towards, so when we say total grams of protein, we need that many grams of complete protein. And so things like collagen, pork skins fall in this category as well. And even gelatin. So gelatin is more complete than collagen, but collagen is even more broken down. So it basically it's just incomplete. We can't count it towards our total protein needs because it's short of what we really need. You can have it considered a supplement, but it's not going to be something you can count towards your protein needs or goals.
Yeah,
that makes sense?
That's very helpful. To build on that, then, what about bone broth? Because I thought that I make my own bone broth like every weekend, and it's supposed to have a pretty high amount of protein in it, like for a liquid. But is that collagen, and would that not count towards protein either?
Yeah, any kind of, even the best made bone broth is going to be negligible amounts of protein in it. I mean, if there was real protein in there, it'd be, chunks of it you could drink. So it's going to be, bone broth is going to contain gelatin, which is just bonus nutrients for you, but it's not going to count towards your protein needs.
Okay, thank you.
So Carole, can we have collagen and bone broth on our non-high protein days, regular keto days?
Add them in as supplements on the days that you want, but just know that they're not going to count towards your protein total. And also just be mindful that they may be filling up space in your belly that you're trying to get protein. Because if you're drinking a lot of liquid, it's going to be really hard to get your total protein amount in.
Okay.
That's one of the tricks of regular dieting is when you're trying to cut back on your calories is fill up on vegetables and fill up on liquids to try to fill up your belly. So, there's different ways that we register satiety. And one of those is there are stretch receptors in our stomach. And when those stretch out enough, that can register stop eating because, you only got so much room in there. So I would recommend not getting carried away with bone broth and collagen. And the other one. Okay, the other one is okay, so seeing a lot of questions about, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? You're going to hear a broken record of, is it on the allowed foods list? If it's not, there's a reason. People are asking, well, is there flexibility in this rule? So I just added up in the members only site, we brainstormed the name of it this morning. So the Fat Loss Accelerator guide, and it's the 9 rules to follow to get maximum results. So any of those rules that you choose not to follow or to bend, just know that you're shortchanging yourself for your results. Every single thing, those of you that worked with me before know every single reason and rule and every part of this program is all designed specifically to get you the best results possible. There's multiple reasons for everything. It's not just arbitrary stuff that I just made up to make up a program. These are all things that actually work. And so, Marianne, remind me, there was one this morning we were talking about that I was like, that people are saying, well, what about this? And I was like, well, here's why. And now I can't remember. There was a specific one we were talking about that people were asking. Oh, the protein thing. Okay, this is it. So, so many of you have noticed that I say you can have up to 2 scoops of protein powder a day, and I'm very specific about the types you can have as well. So this is also extremely important. This is not a rule to bend, and here's why. You can have egg white protein powder or whey protein powder. The reason you can have those two has to do with Heather's question. They're complete proteins. That type of protein contains all the amino acids that humans need in the right ratios. Anytime we're consuming incomplete protein powders, we're shortchanging ourselves. And the reason that we even know that there are amino acids, essential amino acids, which means that humans need them for life, is that they've created protein powder formulations in the past that they fed to babies, people in institutions that couldn't eat, and they die of malnutrition because they're missing one or they're shortchanged on one of those. So whey protein, egg white protein, those two are complete. They're in the ratios that humans need. That's why I say those are allowed. Any other type is not allowed, not only because it's not complete protein, but also it's poor quality and it's not something that our body should be consuming. Soy protein, for example, terrible for our bodies. And also consuming too much processed refined stuff like that also is really hard on our body. I've worked with countless women that have come to me for help with keto after they've tried all these other liquid protein diets or these programs out there, these clinically supervised programs that are a lot of processed protein powder, like, crackers and shakes and bars and all of this stuff that's not sustainable food. They make you buy all of their food products. They use super low quality, most of it's soy protein powders that they're making all of this food-like substance out of. And I can't tell you how many women come to me with these terrible digestive problems. They malabsorption, they can't absorb magnesium, for example, and it's a lifelong problem. It just completely destroys the whole digestive tract. Real food contains, not only protein, so the chicken we're talking about, the shrimp, the pork, the beef, eggs, those things that we're talking about not only contain protein, but they contain vitamins and minerals in the right ratio that we need as humans as well to digest and absorb and to grow and to live and be healthy, as well as any number of other compounds that are in these foods that we don't even know, we haven't even identified, that are necessary for human life. Also, just the ratio of them, the type of vitamins and minerals in there as well are superior for absorption, digestion, assimilation, and use in our body. Whereas anything, the synthetic form, so all of those processed protein, powder, vitamins, and minerals, those are not in the form that they occur naturally in foods. And so they're harder to absorb and digest. They're not exactly in the right ratios. So there's a lot of synergy and beauty in the way that foods are made in nature by God. And when we try to recreate that, it just causes a lot of problems in the human body. So the reason I'm limiting that is because I want you all to lose weight, to lose fat in the healthiest way possible. I don't want to destroy anyone's digestive system. Also, create nutrient deficiencies that we can't correct or anything like that too. So that's why this is a temporary 3 days on, 4 days off, why I'm limiting the amount of processed protein powders you can have, and the type as well. The other thing is that the third, fourth, fifth reason why just this one thing of why there's only 2 scoops of protein powder and the type is really important is that research shows that anytime we compare the real whole food version of it, so again, let's just imagine a chicken breast and the or let's keep with the whey thing. Okay, so like the cottage cheese versus whey protein powder. The whole food version of it has normal signaling throughout our digestive system. We humans are amazingly complex hormones and enzymes and all these other processes and things like that, neurotransmitters that go on in the body. As we digest food, most of us just know that when we eat, we get full, we feel full, and we don't want to eat anymore. But this is a complex cascade of a whole bunch of different hormones in the body. They're called, some of them are called incretins, which sounds like some kind of a sci-fi bad guy or something like that. Lives under a bridge, I think. But these are satiety signaling hormones in our body. And the more processed, refined foods we get the worst kind of signaling, and the type of signaling that causes our body to retain fat, store more fat, than if we're eating the whole food version of this. The first time I heard this information, the research presented was by Dr. Michael Eads, who's the one who wrote Protein Power, originally back in maybe like early 90s, I think. And so he did a presentation, it was a couple of years ago that I listened to, and or maybe last year, doesn't matter. But he presented research showing that when we eat the refined processed versions of things, we get way more basically adverse signaling for fat retention in our body than we do if we just eat the whole foods version. So again, that's another reason why I want you eating almost all whole foods as much as you can versus processed, refined bars and shakes and soy nuggets and you know, lots of protein powders and things like that. So that's that.
Kind of going along with that question, you mentioned putting protein powder in your coffee, but what are other ways that are good to use it?
Yeah, you can blend it with non-fat Greek yogurt. And so that if any of you got, I know some of you got the protein powders that I sent out as an email recommendation. There were 3 of them that I put in there for you. And then the fun little sneaky thing I did is that 2 of them actually have some okay sweeteners in them. So this is the one little thing that you can have that has some sweetener in it. So there's a vanilla and there's a chocolate. You blend it with Greek yogurt. You get yourself a smoothie or a dessert. You can also add a few berries in there. And also alternatively, you can blend it with some cottage cheese and then you get like a cheesecake flavored milkshake or smoothie or something like that. So those are a couple of different ideas. So you can also blend the protein powders just with so unsweetened non-milk beverages. So the reason I'm saying non-milk is because milk is really high in carbs. So if you pick like unsweetened almond milk or hemp milk or coconut milk beverage or anything along those lines, you're getting a low fat, no calorie, no carb liquid beverage that has some flavor in it. You can blend the protein powder with that, maybe some ice or not, and just, you know, drink that as well. So those are some various ways. I've never tried it blended into tea, but that probably would work as well. Like black tea or herbal tea. Anyone else have any other ways? Also, you know, you can just stir it into the Greek yogurt. It'll just make it thicker. Anyone have any other protein powder ideas or uses? Is that helpful, Marianne?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Carole, I have another question.
Yeah.
I was late getting onto the call today because I couldn't figure out how to get onto the call. Just because, I don't know, I didn't know how to get onto the call. And so I was wondering, what's like the fastest way to get onto the call? Because I guess I was expecting an email or something, and then I wasn't sure where to go. And so it was actually one of the Facebook members that gave me the suggestion to go back to, you know, the website. So what would you suggest?
Yeah, so your website materials have everything you need for this whole program. So the very first document that's in there, so the Get Unstuck program on the member site. So as a reminder for everyone, ketocarole.com, click on the members tab. That's going to take you into all of your materials you have access to. So some of you have more programs than just this one, but click on the Get Unstuck. Okay. On a computer, the navigation is on the left-hand side. So the very first item that you can click on the left-hand side is the document. It contains every single detail for this program. It's got the length of it, what's included. It's got the link for this call every week. It's got the information about how to submit questions if you can't make it here live. It's got the link to the Facebook group. And yeah, so that's where you go to get that. You can, you know, you could set if you've got some kind of a digital calendar system, you can set a recurring meeting on your own calendar, and you can, so the link that you use to come on here, you can just save that, or actually even from the, where I just described, if you go to that document, if you copy that link and then just put it in your calendar,
Okay.
then you'll have that every single week when the meeting comes up too.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
What else? And just as another reminder, everyone, it's in that document too, but if you can't be here live, you're going to want to email questions into support@ketocarole.com. That email's in that document as well. The cutoff, so this call is 1 o'clock Pacific time. We set the deadline at noon the same day. So as long as you send that email to us by noon on Mondays Pacific time, you're going to get that question answered. I will go through that on this call, and so you'll be able to get that in. Also in between, the other place to get some support is the Facebook group. So now that I'm back from Hawaii, I will be in there frequently, answering questions, typing in there, also probably doing some videos if there's some themes and things like that, just keeping you guys excited, rah, rah, rah. Really excited to be doing this program. Everyone did an intro at the beginning too, and I didn't say mine because everybody shared where they were and why they're here for this program. So I am Carole, if you don't know, and I am in Seattle area, and it's actually a sunny day right now. It's only like about 38 degrees outside, but it's sunny. And I am here for this program because I discovered this technique myself a couple years ago and tried it out and figured it out because I love to figure out systems and processes and break it down into how do we teach it to people to actually implement it themselves. And I put it on a shelf because I've been focusing on my core program, my Fast Track to Keto Success program for the last 4 years, which is an extremely comprehensive program that walks people from getting started with keto for the fastest results all the way to how do I live this as a lifelong lifestyle, everything you possibly need to know in training and support. And what came up maybe 4 weeks ago now on one of our support calls for that program was people are like, you know, I need a little kick in the butt to break through a plateau. There's different things, that I know to do, but I just need some motivation to get unstuck. And some other people as well were saying, you know, I've been following this program, but I just have the last 15 pounds I'd really like to get off. And so I pulled it off the mental bookshelf and I was like, I've got this technique, let's do this. And so I am following it as well, you guys, for the next 6 weeks as well. I'm really excited, and it's just fun to lead you all live through a fresh new program. So, and it's, you know, and as a little sneak peek too, so all of my peer support coaches, so these are ladies that have been through the Fast Track program. They've stayed on. Some of them have been with me 3 years now. They're all on board in trying this program out as well. And some of them have already started. So they started like last week. And one of them who'd been plateaued for 5 months said, yep, I tried it last week. I lost 5 pounds. So the first time she got unstuck in 5 months. Another one also said, yep, I'm back on track, and dropped, I think it was another, 5 pounds as well. So it's already been tried and experimented with my coaches. I know for sure. They're already getting going and excited with it too. So yes, it works. It's exciting. And all right, so more questions for the people that are here. And then I've got 2 more questions as well that were sent in by email that I'll answer too. So
how often should we weigh ourselves?
Yeah, okay. Let me write it down before I forget. Weigh yourself at a minimum right when you start. So today or yesterday, photos and measurements also highly recommended. And then once again at the end, that is a minimum. Then how frequent beyond that is going to depend on your relationship with the scale. If the scale is just a number, if it's just the same as you look at the temperature on your phone and go, oh, it's 37 degrees today, that has nothing to do with my self-worth as a human. I'm not going to be depressed because of the number. I'm not going to feel like I'm a failure or a success based on that number. If it's just pure data for you, you could weigh up to daily. The same time every day, I recommend, you know, first thing in the morning after your morning bathroom habits. But if, this is probably most of you, if you step on that scale and it affects your self-esteem in any way, then perhaps only once a week is going to be better. Maybe just twice in this program at the beginning and the end. So you're going to have to get real and honest with yourself about how that's going to affect you.
And then we don't adjust our protein consumption based on what the scale says. We continue on with whatever the scale says today. That's what we do for 6 weeks.
You can adjust it weekly if you want to, but don't do it daily. Now, it's very, very, one of the reasons why I don't want anybody, you know, if you can't detach yourself from the number on the scale, is that it's extremely normal for the scale to go up and down and up and down and up and down every single day. That's normal body weight fluctuations of the fluid that's in our body. So don't adjust it daily. You'll make yourself crazy. But you could do it weekly. But also, you don't need to stress about it that much. And that reminds me, that's the next question I'm going to answer. I'm just going to type it now. How often should we weigh? Okay, so another question that's coming up is, how do I get down all this protein? How do I choke down 160, 180, 700 grams of protein a day? So rule number 2 for your maximum results is protein is your priority, but nowhere have I said you must eat all that protein. So I want you to try, but it's probably going to be super hard to get all of your protein in. So it's okay to eat less, but also I don't want you swapping out more carbs, you know, so don't just eat 100 grams of protein. Oh, I'm full, and eat all your carbs. So if you're eating, so each meal, try to get your you know, a third of your protein in. If you're too full to eat more than whatever that portion is, that's fine. That's also part of how this works, is that it's going to make that much protein is going to make you extremely satiated. It's going to make you not want to keep eating. And that's part of the magic of how this high protein version works. So it's okay to not eat all your protein, but also you want to make sure there is a contrast between your high protein days and your regular keto days. Meaning like they shouldn't look all the same. So and keeping the fat really, really low anyways is going to make a big difference on there. So
why are you allowed more carbs on the high protein days?
All right, question. Do we okay, so multiple reasons for that as well. One is that you're doing less fat, and so the vegetables you're having are going to have a little more fiber in there. They're going to be a little more, they're going to work on the stretch receptors in your stomachs. They're going to help with the satiety a little bit, because you're not going to get the fat satiety that you get with regular keto. Also, from doing this on my own, I found that it doesn't make any difference. You know, having that higher carb amount doesn't affect fat loss, weight loss during that time, because of the high protein is offsetting that so much. So it's just for a little, and also it makes it so that you can have more of the, you know, the cottage cheese, the non-fat Greek yogurt. Those are higher in carbs, so it allows more room for a greater variety of high protein foods than if you're keeping carbs super low.
And then if you're checking your ketones, how often should you do that?
So, just like regular keto, my recommendations are not more than once a day. Ketone numbers on this do not matter at all.
Okay.
So your goal is not high ketones. So again, numbers of ketones don't correlate with how fast you're losing weight or fat. If you drank a gallon of olive oil a day, you would have really high ketones because your body's burning mostly fat. But also it doesn't mean that it's not storing most of that fat either.
Okay.
So people get really worried and obsessed with ketone numbers, and they say, well, my ketones get higher each day. Why was I not losing fat? They don't really, all the ketone numbers just mean they're showing the rate of fat burning basically, but fat burning and fat going in and fat going out are also part of the equation of fat loss. So
Okay.
if you want, again, if ketone numbers to you are just a number and more data and interesting and you like to see it, for me, when I did this first, I checked my ketones just because of the myth that was out there that said, well, too high a protein will kick you out of ketosis. I wanted that information to see if that was true. And it turns out because you're losing body fat rapidly, you are still burning a lot of fat. So even though we don't have a lot of fat going in our mouth, because of the high rate of fat burning from your body, that my ketones went higher and higher each day despite eating 180 grams of fat, protein a day at that point.
Okay.
So you can, is just interesting information, but also know that it isn't going to correlate with your fat loss rate necessarily. So,
All right.
so yeah, once in general, blood ketone testing recommendation from me is once a day, first thing in the morning, after a glass of water. And before exercise.
Okay.
So kind of a baseline. Yeah. What other questions? All right, I'm going to go on to Deirdre sent in a question. Let's see that. This is the same question we just answered. How often do you suggest that we weigh ourselves during the 6 weeks? So I'm going to put a note. That's already answered there. When the weight starts to come off, do we adjust our daily protein intake? Oh man, you guys are in sync here. That's exactly your question as well. So yeah, see the other one. If we are to reduce our daily protein intake to match our weight, when should that happen? Okay, so maximum of once a week, you can adjust your protein, but also you may not be able to actually eat all the protein anyways, and so you may not even be adjusting it anyways. And her third question is, do you have a suggested brand of Greek yogurt? I found a Trader Joe's version that is plain and non-fat. Okay, so for Greek yogurts, if you're looking at labels, you've got multiple choices. Pick the one that has the highest protein per serving. Look for unsweetened, non-fat is going to get you, the goal for the high protein days is as low as fat as possible. So yeah, so this Trader Joe's plain and non-fat is going to be great. Again, just check the carb count. So you want to find the one with the lowest carb count, highest protein. So depending on where you're at, that's what that would be. Also, cottage cheese, some of it has some fillers and starches and things in that like that. I found this brand, it's called Good Culture. And they sell it at Whole Foods Market. I don't know where else they have it though. And it's all high quality. It's just skim milk, whole milk, and I don't remember the other things, but all just real natural ingredients. And it actually is much higher protein, lower carb than most cottage cheese that's out there on the market. So it's low fat. And so I recommend that for purposes of this program, but also just in general, the less garbage ingredients are in things, probably the healthier for us anyway. So what other questions? Anything else? Kathy, any questions for you?
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I think
Yes.
most of them have been answered. I
Okay.
need to really work on this chronometer thing and
Okay.
get that together is my biggest thing.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Any other questions? Going once, twice?
I had the question I sent in to you about the cheese.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That was on my list here. Sorry. Marianne wrote in asking, day one on the menu, it says dinner has 65 grams of cheddar, but on page 5 the food list says no cheese on the 3 to 1. Yes, good question. So so the foods list that it's called the table, right, that I have, it's meant to be a shortcut. If you're planning your own food meal, you can, if you pick things in the column for your day, it's going to be the easiest meal planning, and stick with the other column on the keto version. So cheese is protein food. It's rich in protein, but it's also rich in fat. So for the meal plan, I found a way to work it in to make it work with the macros that we're trying to stick with each meal. But if you're trying to do your own meal planning in general, if you leave cheese out of your days, it's going to be much easier than trying to keep it in, just because it is so high fat. So I found a way to work it in because of you know, the meal planning that I already done, and it was based on a lot of the meal plan for the first week, you guys, is what I've eaten in the past when I've done this. And so I found a way to make that work. But if you're trying to do it on your own, you can squeeze some cheese in if you want, but it's going to make it a lot harder than if you're just trying to stick with the low fat proteins. So probably I haven't looked at the macros on it, but like a low fat mozzarella may be okay, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know how much fat. I think it's still pretty high in fat though. So. What else? Well, if there aren't any more questions on here, we'll wrap this up with a lightning bolt round. So for those of you that are new to that, for those of you on the call, we'll just each person take a turn, share your aha, your takeaway, or whatever it is that you want to say to close this out. And then we'll officially end this meeting. Again, I've typed out all the questions that have been answered on this Q&A, and it's being recorded. So within a day or two, this is going to be added into your member site. So you'll be able to see on the left-hand side again, you're going to see week 1 heading. Underneath that is going to be this recording, a list of all the questions that were asked and answered on here. Your meal plan for this week is already in there. So later on in the next couple of days, I'm going to have the next 2 weeks meal plans in there. This is the way that I'm going to structure this, you guys, and hope I'm figuring out what the best way to do this is. But for each week heading, so we've got the first welcome heading, we've got the fat loss accelerator training section, and then after that we're going to have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, blah 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 blah. And so for each week heading, so for week 1, we've got week 1 meal plan in there and shopping list, and then we're also going to add in the Q&A section with the questions answered. And then as soon as the week 2 meal plan is up, I'm going to put that under the week 2 heading. So hopefully that makes sense and is easy for you all to find. We may figure out a different organization that's easier and better. And I know my Marianne is really good at thinking of things like that. So, so that's where it's going to be. I will post in the Facebook group as soon as that is uploaded in there. So what's going to happen is that at least a week in advance, you're going to have the next week's meal plan in the members only site. It's going to pop up in there. So, all right. So lightning bolts, who's got theirs?
Oh, I'm just excited to get this thing rolling and see what happens.
I'm glad to know that I don't have to try and stuff down all that protein.
And I was feeling a little bit nervous about the program in general, and I'm glad, I'm feeling less nervous because I'm glad we had the session today that's made me less nervous. So I feel good about getting started.
And my
I've got-
take is, go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm looking forward to really understanding the chronometer and being able to know what I'm doing when I'm plugging things in and tracking my progress.
And my takeaway is I'm going to be eliminating my collagen, gelatin, bone broth from my foods list for the next 6 weeks.
Right. Good work, ladies. So options for support in the meantime, Facebook group. I'm going to be in there a lot, you guys. I predict I'm going to have a few pop-up live sessions in there as well. So go ahead and post more questions, post photos of your meals and foods, share away. If you have any other questions in the meantime, send them into support@ketocarole.com. Those again, and if they're not answered in the Facebook group in the meantime, they're going to be answered on our next week's Q&A call too. So, all right. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy
Thank
getting
you.
unstuck, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.